Hello everybody, I think I'm live, which is a start, put it that way. So let me know in the chat if you can see me, I hope that's the case. And welcome to this live coding session of a WordPress plugin, a mad idea that I think I probably had at the back end of last week to sort of do some live coding on a WordPress plugin just to see, or let you guys see how I actually go about doing this sort of stuff. Now, I will warn you, I've had a full day of school learning, so it's probably scrambled my brain somewhat. I've done a geography lesson and an RE lesson and a science lesson, and I can't remember that far back, it was so long ago. But I will do my best to get through this as best as we can. So I'm also learning how to drive this software. I have used it before, but it seems very complicated, but I'll do my best to do this. So the idea behind this is we're going to build a plugin from scratch. And I'm going to talk first of all about which plugin it's going to be, what we're going to actually build, what's the sort of the idea of this plugin, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Now I'm going to start from scratch, so I'm going to do everything that I would do normally on here. That includes all the setup and everything like that. So bear with me if you obviously know how to do a lot of this stuff, but it gives you an idea about how I do it anyway. If you are watching on YouTube, then thank you. I can see there's quite a few watching. Do let me know who you are and where you're watching from in the channel. And if you have any questions, I will do my best to sort of glance across to probably my right where the chat is. And I'll do my best to answer them as I can. Also, do give us a shout if things are a bit too small or something and you can't see them. And I will try and obviously improve that as we can. So, if you're not already subscribed, by the way, to the High Rise Digital YouTube channel, then now is your time. Just below this video, there should be a big button that says subscribe. And if you want to do that, that'd be great, because I'm going to run, obviously, this is going to be the first of a number of videos on live coding this plugin. And if you do that, you will get to know when the next ones are, which is hopefully going to be Wednesday, but I'll come back to that at the end. So let's see if I can share with you my screen. I believe, oops, got that many windows open, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go, is that showing me? Yes, there we go, I think that's got it. So thanks to everyone who's watching, Mark and Victor and Pedro, thanks for tuning in, and Dave as well, Richard. I hope you get to learn a bit better about what I do in order to build a plugin. Hopefully you should be able to still see me in the bottom left of the screen. And you should be able to see my screen. I've got a GitHub page open at the moment. So back in the day, I don't know when it was, you can probably tell from the screen, there we go, 10th of October 2018. This was a plugin that we sort of built and we still actually use on some websites today, and we called it Post Type Archive Pages. Now, what this plugin actually does is that by default, if you have a custom post type and you set it to have an archive page, that is, it will have a page in WordPress that is dynamically created to list all of the posts of that post type. Then, because it's dynamically created, you don't have a page in WordPress where you can say, oh, I want to edit the title or I want to edit the description or whatever. So what we did is we created this particular plugin that kind of did this job. So it allowed you to have a physical page in WordPress where you could set the title of a post type archive, and you could even add a little description as well. Now, because it was a post type, you could also add other custom fields to it, for example, using advanced custom fields or any other method, and you could start out putting all and sundry on the page. But obviously with the block editor coming along, it's not rendered this defunct and not usable, but I just thought it could have a lot more enhancements and it could actually be a little bit more refined and better. So I thought what we'd do is have a look at rebuilding this plugin so that it is much better and it works with the block editor, so it will allow you to use the block editor, add content on post type archive pages. I also thought we could actually perhaps expand that to archive pages in general, which was to maybe use for taxonomy archive pages, possibly date archives. That might be getting a bit ambitious, but we will see. So, hi to Sam and to Carolina and Janice as well. Thanks for joining us on the channel there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new repository. So I'm in my GitHub account and I'm going to click on the plus button and I'm going to go new repository. because obviously I always version control all the code. That's the plan. And I'm going to put it in the high-rise version, and we're going to call it, this is going to be the name for our plugin, Editable Archive Pages. Nice and simple. So, a WordPress, this is just a description, so a WordPress plugin that allows you to manage the content on WordPress generated archive pages. So hopefully people would find that interesting. So editable archive pages, we can add a git ignore. We'll add that later. Create repository. Lovely. So let me move that over there. I don't know if you could see that little screen or not, but there you go. Anyway, so that's that created. So what I'm going to do then is now, I've actually got on my machine a local site that I can use in order to be able to put this plugin inside it and then run it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from scratch so you can see the whole thing. And I'm actually going to set up a fresh install of WordPress that we can use to build this plugin in. So to do that, I'm going to use my local hosts system, which in my case is MAMP Pro. That's the system that I can use to build local websites. And we're going to create a new host. We're going to call it, let's just call it EAP for Editable Archive Pages, and make it nice and short so it's easy to type in. I want to install WordPress, which is good, and continue. So what's the admin name? Password. Let's just go for password. I nearly wrote a password I often use them, but forgot I didn't. We'll just call the database EAP. The user will use root. And that should be fine. Continue. It should ask me where to put that now. Hopefully. There we go. Which folder do you want to use? We'll go into MAMP sites, new folder, EAP, create, and choose that folder. And then I hope it'll do some downloading of WordPress. Here we go. I've got a nice coffee on the go. Unarchiving WordPress, that sounds good. Is it going to create me a database? It must do. Let's have a look, see what happens anyway. So eap.test. Surely it's going to restart the server. Again, if you've got any questions, write them in the chat. I'll do my best to glance across and get across to the chat. There we go, it's restarting the server now and answer your questions. Brilliant. So that's restarted, not quite. Got MySQL's restarting now, which is fine. And then I should be able to go to eap.test in my browser. And we should get a WordPress website. If we're lucky. Migrate blog. That's good. Ooh, that's the new 2021 theme there, isn't it? So let's log in with the stuff I created. Coffee is definitely needed at this time of the day, Nate, thank you. Although it's probably really dodgy coffee, because mine's just a standard sort of out of a jar. I'm sorry. I'm not a coffee boffin like a lot of people. It takes too long to make. Right, so we're logged in. We've got lots of updates to run. Probably all screaming at me, why hasn't he just done this a better way? But this is how I do it anyway. We don't need Akismet, so let's get rid of that. And we don't need 2019, but we use 2021, so I'll update that as well. Right, let me grab my editor up now. So where's that gone? eap.test, there it is. So I'm just grabbing the folder from my Finder there, and I'm going to load it up in my text editor, which is VS Code. So it should hopefully load up in a sec. Everything's just a little bit slow when you're doing a live video. Maybe it's a good excuse to upgrade my machine. There we go. So this is the install of WordPress that I've got. So it should just be a blank install. So let's just go and remove that plugin because we don't need it. Yes, let's go and remove this plugin. Maybe it's quicker to do that in the Finder. We'll see. EAP. Yeah, it probably is. Themes. Get rid of these two themes. Just like to start with a nice clean install. There's the good old Hello Dolly. Excellent. Right, so there we go. We've got where that started. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull our GitHub project into this instance of WordPress. So we're going to go back to the web. I can't update the theme. We'll do that in a minute. And we're going to... Oh, I've got that ridiculous maintenance thing now because it failed. So what happens here is that it tries to update and it drops a maintenance file in, and then it doesn't delete the file. It's here, you see. So if I just delete that maintenance file, because it doesn't finish the process of upgrading, it doesn't delete that file, and then you get that problem where it won't load. Hopefully that'll fix the problem. Yay, we're back. So right now I'm going to go back to GitHub and I'm going to copy the GitHub location of this repository, and we're going to go over to my Git client, which is called Tower, and we're going to click on the plus and clone a Git repository. We're going to paste the URL in there. I'm going to authenticate as me and click clone, and that should... Oh, I didn't tell it where to clone it, did I? Nightmare. Let's do that again. Delete. Move to trash. Let's try that again. Clone Git repository. Right, here is where I want to select the destinations. I want to put this into the WordPress instance that I've just created, which is there. I'm going to drop it in the plugins folder. There we go. That should be more efficient. It should put it in the right place. Da-da-da. Has that worked? Yes, it has. Brilliant. So I've got a fresh Git project. And if I go back to VS Code, there we go. I've got a folder with nothing in it because the project was obviously empty, which is perfect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to... What's on there? Oh, new. It always puts it in the wrong window, which is really annoying. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just open up another project so I can get some stuff from it, like the git ignore file, for example. I do a lot of copying from other projects. I don't know about you. I've done that before, and I will borrow it from somewhere else. Git ignore. Oh, there's nothing in that one. Oh, there was. It was just slow to load. Copy that across. Right, we haven't got a git ignore file yet, so let's use Tower to get one. Tower, where are you? There we go. Settings, ignores, open in editor, and we will paste that in there and save. So we've now got a git ignore in there, which is nice, and hopefully if I expand that, there we go, git ignore, it's there. So what we could do is, we'll commit that. I know it's a bit short, but we'll commit it. So git ignore file, commit. Right, so we're on the master branch, so I'm going to push that. So there's something there, and then what I'm going to do is enable something called git flow. Has that gone up nearly? So git flow basically sets up like a workflow where you can do like feature branches and releases and things like that. So if this is going to be a plugin that you're going to use on multiple sites, it's certainly worth having that sort of stuff in there. So I'm going to click on this up here and go enable git flow. I don't know how you do this without Tower, to be honest. If anyone does, then let me know. Maybe you just set it up manually, I'm not sure. But Tower enables you to do this git flow thing where it creates all these branches for you and then just sets up a nice workflow. So I'm just going to click configure and it'll create me a develop branch ready to actually use. I'm going to check out the develop branch, and then because I haven't actually pushed that up to GitHub, I'll need to do that as well. Make sure it tracks the remote branch, that's good. And then if we go back to GitHub and refresh, we should get, hey, there we go, a bit more of a screen. So we've now got a master branch, we've got a develop branch, and we're looking a lot better. which is nice. So back to our code, and let's go and where's Tower gone? Let's have a look. Here we go. So we're on develop. I'm going to work on develop because obviously I'm developing the plugin, and then I'm going to try and push as much as I can in terms of like doing little bits of code at the same time. But I don't want to bore you guys too much, so I might just get some stuff done and then commit it afterwards. So Sam just says he does it the same way using Tower. Herb says not switch to the main branch then. Yeah, I kind of thought, Herb, that it created the branch of main, not master. I wonder if that's a Tower thing or whether that's a GitHub thing, because I pulled from GitHub. I don't know. Anyway, but it's not called main, it's called master. Never mind. So let's get cracking on actually creating our plugin then. And again, I'm going to be using a lot of sort of copy and paste from this. So let's just go back to us. And I'm going to use one of our plugins that we have on WordPress.org and borrow some of the stuff from that just to save me copying and typing it all out basically, so you guys don't have to watch. So like the plugin header, for example. So this is kind of the stuff I always have on every plugin, so I'm just going to copy that. So we've got our plugin folder, but we haven't got a plugin file, so I'm going to create a new file in VS Code, and we're going to paste all that stuff in, and we're going to change the name of this stuff, so it's editable archive pages. We'll just put the plugin URL as our URL for now. Here's the description. Again, you can probably do a better description, but I'm just going to grab the one from where we just typed it in. Hello. It's so frustrating how it slows your machine down so much when you're recording video. There we go. So copy that. We typed that in before. Let's work on version 0.1 for now, because it's not going to be like a proper release. High-rise digital, everything's good. Change the text domain. Now, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the text domain must be the same as the name of the folder in which this plugin's in. So this is going to be called editable archive pages. Bit of bump about the license, etc. That's fine. And then we're going to save the plugin root file, if you like. Now, again, you could call this anything you like, but for me, it just makes complete sense to just call it the same name as the folder, what the actual plugin is. And most plugins follow that pattern, whereby you call it the same name as the folder. So editable archive pages.php, when we're saving it in here. There we go. I was going to say that should colour in, and it has done. Got me a bit worried then that it wasn't going to turn the right colour for a PHP file. Right, is that big enough, by the way, for everyone to see? It's probably not, so I'm just going to bump it up a little bit in terms of size so you can perhaps see it a bit better. That's going to be better for you. Let me just make that a bit smaller. Lovely. So the first thing I always do is do the old, if the absolute path of WordPress has not been defined, then let's just exit, because unless this plugin is running in the context of WordPress, so WordPress is running, then obviously we shouldn't be doing anything with this plugin. So let's just try and exit out, stop this from doing anything. I then always define two constants in my plugin. So one of them is the sort of location that I am on the server, which I always give the prefix of my prefix, which in this case we'll call the prefix EAP for editable archive pages. And then the location of this, which is just the current folder that I'm located in on the server. So depending on your server setup, for me, this will be defined as like /user/wp-mark/mamp-sites/EAP. And then the actual URL of where I am, rather than just a location. So EAP _location URL. Now I find these are really useful in terms of when you are enqueuing like scripts and assets. So therefore you can use these when you're doing that sort of thing. Herb just says I've got a typo in here, which is absolutely correct. Exit, not exist, which is important. So if I want to enqueue some assets, trying trying to think whether I will in this plugin or not. I'm not sure. But I can use that constant to reference the location of the root folder of my plugin. And then I can obviously use a path after that to enqueue things like images and maybe icons if you're doing something in the admin, or enqueuing scripts and styles as well. So you can certainly do that. So most of my plugins start with that base, in that I've got those two constants defined and that little exit if we're not in WordPress. Oh, bear with me for a slurp of coffee. Now, as I said, this plugin is going to allow us to edit some of those archive pages in WordPress. So we'll start with the post type archives, which is what I've kind of had before. So the first thing we want the plugin to do is to find out which post types are using archives. So when you register a post type, it will have a parameter in there that basically has archive and it's true or false. So if the post types that have been defined do not use the have archive parameter, as in it's set to false, they don't want that post type to have an archive, then I don't want to obviously do anything with that post type. But the idea here, the concept is that I'm going to register a post type, which is going to be the post type that stores all of the posts or pages that are going to be used to edit my archive pages. So each post type that's registered, so let's say we have a custom post type called products, so if you're using WooCommerce, you'd have that. Each of those post types that's been added and uses the has archive is going to get a post in my custom post type that is specifically for that post type that they can then use to edit some content on the top of that page. Probably explained that really badly, but hopefully it'll become a little bit more clear. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to grab some of my debugging stuff that I use. Again, I'm just going to grab it from another site. We've been recently doing some stuff on this one because it's really useful to have all your little setup working. Come on, VS Code. Get faster, quickly. So in this project, I have got, come on, give me the sidebar. Obviously been doing something with WP list table there. Let's expand that. So in here, we've got me plugins, we've got this debugging file, which we're going to grab. I'll just talk you through this in a second. So in WP content, I'm going to create a new folder called MU plugins. New file, I'm going to drop my debugging stuff in there. I'm going to save it as debugging.php. Let's put it in the right place. MU plugins, save. Right, so this is just, as I said, debugging stuff. So I've got an enhanced version of the var dump function. So I'm not someone that uses an IDE here, so I don't do all the sort of like breakpoints and stopping and stuff. I'd love to do that, but to be honest, I've tried to set it up a few times and it hasn't worked for me very well at all. So I just tend to stick to the old dump some data on the screen and then see what it is. I've just got an enhanced version, called it WP var dump. It accepts some data that you want to dump out and you can pass a label to it, and it just wraps it in a nice styling idea, wrapping it in the pre-tags just so it looks nice on the screen and you can clearly tell where your data is and it's been dumped. I've also got one here that writes a log to the debug.log file, so that if I wanted to not output it on the screen, I can do that as well. That relies on WP debug being true, so let's just make sure that that is true. I can just grab the config file from this project, which I'll know has the right code in, which is somewhere on here. It is not on here, there it is. Grab that. And then that's the right one again. Let me put that in the WP config folder. So where's it gone? Debug equals false, there it is. It goes in there, so that saves that. And then if I did debug something, just log something out, it'll create a debug.log file in the content folder of WordPress, and you can see what's being logged out there. And just coming back to the comments, Victor says, defining the URL so early makes it not CDN friendly. Interesting. I wouldn't know about that. That's something interesting. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit, what that means in terms of CDN friendly. Doesn't that get replaced by a CDN URL anyway? Anyway, maybe you could let us know. But maybe that's not as good as it should be. Something I can improve on. So that's my debugging stuff set up, which is good. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to actually create some custom post types. And I'll just do these in the Mu plugins folder just for ease. So I'm just going to create a new file and we're going to register some custom post types in here. Now in that project that I've just had open, I've got some, so I can just literally grab the copy of the code, I think, in there. So let me close that. Oops, let me go to, here we go, post types. So I've got a case study post type, that's perfect. So we can grab that one. And obviously I'm going to make sure that these actually have archives so that we can test our stuff on them. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in there. And let's just change that prefix. Oops. And we'll save that as post types. Now, because I'm dropping this in the Mu plugins folder, it's just going to run all the time in WordPress. So those post types are always going to be there available. So let's just call it HD case study. I think everything else can be pretty much as it is, which is good. So supports, doesn't really matter what it supports in this instance. Show and rest is true, and then it's got a URL. So what's important is has archive here needs to be set to true, or it needs to be set to a string, which is the slug that you want to use for that particular URL, if you like. So in this case, it will be eap.test/case studies will be the location of my case studies post type archive page. And I've just made that a translatable string as well. Should probably just change all those as well to HD or something like that. Not that it really matters for this instance, but never mind. Okay, so that's that one done. And I've set all the labels and stuff down here, but that's essentially got me a post type, which is good. So save that, and if I go back into my browser and into the actual website and refresh, we should have a case studies post type, he says. Is it going to refresh? The suspense. It's on a massive go slow. I can hear the fan on the computer going. It's obviously not coping well with videos and MAMP and other things running. That is really slow. Beginning to think I broke something. Oops. Let's just try refreshing that again. Doesn't want to refresh. Come on. Victor says, yes, cannot be replaced when using a pull CDN. Why can't I get my website to load? Oops. You have to bear with me a second. My machine seems to have ground to a halt. Oh, something's bouncing up and down at me. Oh, that's my... I lost internet connection. Sorry, I'm just going to see if I can actually get on the web. Well, I must be able to if I'm talking to you guys. Yeah, that's working. Something's broken there. We've got an error. Maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe I have made a mistake. Okay, so let me just... 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 Okay, so let me just Oh, my machine is literally ground to a halt. Everything's jerking and lagging. Ugh, what is going on? Quit. Delete. I can only assume I've got an error in that file. Yes, let's come back. So let me go back to there. Undo. Refresh. Live coding, ladies and gents. There, it's back now. So there wasn't an error in that file. I think my machine just decided to die, basically, which is not great. Anyway, so I've got a case studies post type here now, which is exactly what we wanted, and that will have an archive. So we can use that to test our functionality when we start to do it. So I'm half an hour in now, and I'm conscious that I don't want to go on and on and on for too long. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of wrap this up here, and for the next live session, which I'm going to do on Wednesday at the same time, we can actually start to get in and start to put some code in this plugin and start to actually do some of the functionality of the plugin that we want to do. So I don't know if you've got any questions for me at the end of this. Thank you for bearing with me there. Hopefully I'll see if I can kill lots of other things on my machine in the next one as well, so we can get it going faster. But if you've got any questions for me, then let me know just before we go, and I will try and answer any. Let me flip back to me so you can see me on the video. There we go, that's better. Just getting all these different windows in place. So if you've got any questions that you want to know or anything that you are unsure about, then please let me know. And I'll try and answer them, or anything that you want me to include in the next live video, I can try and do that. So anyway, thanks for bearing with me. Obviously, this was the first time I've done something like this with this sort of thing. So it's probably going to have some teething troubles. Slowness of my machine is an instant problem, which I'll have to try and fix. I'm going to try and kill everything except what I'm doing, which is probably going to help, and that'll be good. And if, again, you want to make sure you get a notification of when the next one starts, then that's going to be on Wednesday at 15:15. But if you hit the subscribe button to the channel, you can join nearly the other 500 people who are subscribers of the channel, and you get be able to see when this is. And so other than that, thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you on Wednesday for the next episode, which hopefully will be a little bit more interesting because we'll get dug into some actual plugin code. Anyway, for now, we will see you then. Thanks very much.